Sure.
And let me just make sure Joe can have that capability. You should have it now, Joe.
Okay.
All right. Okay, so over to you, Doug. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, guys. It's interesting. I've done these with several different folks around the country, and the meetings are run so differently in different places. You guys are very Robert's Rules of Order. I did one for some guys in Phoenix, and there was I don't know, 5 or 10 guys there, and they were just very kind of holy-gully. It's been very interesting seeing all the different chapters and how they run. As Mike said, I'm Doug Watson. I'm a senior sales engineer at Link Up Communications. We are a content delivery company specializing mainly in satellite delivery. We do everything from equipment, satellite dishes, modulators, bucks, everything that has to do with satellite delivery, including space segment. We also do installs. We do consulting. I mean, we just do a little bit of everything. We do it all over the country. My background is radio. I've spent about 18 years in Dallas, Texas. Started off sweeping the shop floor, worked my way up to director of engineering we had a 4-station group. We used KU band to deliver to our other stations. So we had an uplink and a couple of downlinks there. After that, I became the chief engineer at Motor Racing Network, the voice of NASCAR. I spent almost 14 years there. We had an uplink, a C-band uplink at our studios. When I started with the company, we were based in Daytona Beach, right at the racetrack. And I was the first employee to move. I moved from Fort Worth, Texas to North Carolina. And we bought a building here and built studios and moved the company up here, put a C-band uplink here at our studios, as well as had a mobile C-band truck that we took to the track every week and broadcast from the track. We designed and built their studios here in North Carolina. And then a really fun project was we built $1.5 million production truck that went on the road every week and broadcast the NASCAR races. That was a really cool, it was a lot of fun seeing that go from an idea into a not really nice piece of hardware. I left there in 2020, and I have known Mark and Karen Johnson, who own Link Up Communications, for about 20 years. They helped me with my radio station in Dallas, and started working with them a little over a year ago. And we have just it's been crazy busy with this C-band repack stuff. You guys know, can I share my screen?
Oh yeah, stand by. You should have it now.
All right, let's see. Let's do this desktop and let me see if I can get this PowerPoint going. All right, see that?
Yep.
Fantastic.
Gotcha.
I'm sure you guys remember back when Congress started demanding that the FCC come up with some way to do nationwide broadband. I think it was back around 2016, and they were asking the FCC, look, we got to do broadband for everybody. FCC looked around a little bit, and they decided that probably the best place to do that was the 3.5 to 4 gig range. And one of the reasons they decided that is because they thought that there weren't that many people using those C-band downlinks in that range. What had happened is back in the 80s, AT&T had started decommissioning their point-to-point microwave systems that were in the 4 gig range. So people stopped registering downlinks for that protection. And so they only had about 1,000 registered users. And so naturally they thought, well, here's an area that we can take over and won't affect that many people. And then SES and Intelsat got word of all this. And I'm sure you remember now, a couple of years ago, the big push to register your C-band downlinks. And in that period of time, there were over 17,000 C-band downlinks registered. And a lot of folks think that there are probably 50% more that weren't registered during that time. A lot of folks didn't register them. A lot of folks didn't want to pay the fees. I think SES was actually paying the fees for their customers. If you would register, they would pay the fee. So there was a lot of action back then that went on. SES and Intelsat went on to form the C-band Alliance, the CBA. They did a lot of research into this project with the filters and things like that. They wanted to kind of do an industry-led repack rather than an FCC-led repack. So they spent a lot of time and effort in this project, getting these things going. And then as I think we've all had dealings with the FCC. At the last minute, the FCC decided they wanted to go ahead and lead it and kind of cut the C-band alliance out of it. So that all happened. We ended up getting an order from the FCC on what exactly was supposed to happen. And let's see here. Computer won't let me switch screens. That's funny. So the order that came down, I'll just do a quick review of the order, was to add a mobile allocation, except for aeronautical mobile, to the 3.7 to 4 gig band. They were going to transition 280 megahertz plus a 20 meg guard band from the incumbent use to flexible use in the contiguous United States. I've had some folks in Alaska call. They registered and everything, but there's nothing going on in Alaska. It's all the contiguous United States. And it was by December the 5th of 2025 through a commission-led public auction. What this would do, provide eligible space station operators with the option to accelerate the clearing according to the following accelerated timelines. They wanted to clear the bottom 120 megahertz, 3.7 to 3.82 gig by December 5th of this year. That's what we're in right now. And then clear the remaining 180 megahertz, 3.82 to 4 by December 5th of 2023. And if the FCC threw an incentive, if you meet those benchmarks, they received an accelerated relocation payments from flexible use licenses. That would be the cell companies that are buying the frequencies. And they require the incumbent fixed station licenses in the contiguous United States to relocate their point-to-point links to other bands. So the AT&Ts, anybody that's still using those fixed station point-to-point links have to relocate as well. And this would provide both the incumbent fixed station licensees and the reimbursement of reasonable relocation costs paid by flexible use licenses as a condition on their license. So part of their license is you got to move. This order also established a relocation payment clearinghouse to manage the intake, payout, and auditing of relocation funds, mediate cost-related disputes, and provide progress reports to the commission. They established a relocation coordinator to coordinate the migration and filtering of incumbent earth stations to ensure uninterrupted service during the following transition. This relocation coordinator is working with the satellite companies to figure out how to move people around so you don't lose any time. There's a lot of shuffling that's got to take place here. And they adopt a service and technical rules for flexible use licenses in the 280 megahertz of spectrum designated for transition to flexible use. This is the graph of the C-band that we're talking about. This is the downlink on the C-band, 3.7 to 4.2 gigs. So you see all the transponders there. That's the area that we're talking about. So the key entities outlined in the FCC order where the FCC was going to do the auction of the spectrum, and they're the final arbitrator for all issues. Relocation Payment Clearinghouse approves the cost reimbursements for filtering and transition upgrades. Relocation Coordinator manages the clearing schedule appointed by the satellite owners. Space station operators decided to choose the accelerated transition. They all chose the accelerated transition plan. The Earth station operators may elect cost reimbursement to remain on C-band or accept the opt-out amount, facilitate satellite operator transmission plan. That's us. So kind of at the last minute before all the auction happened, the FCC came out completely out of the blue and said, hey, if you want to opt out of this plan where we take care of the payments, we take care of transitioning your satellite, we'll give you, I think it was $9,848. That's in here somewhere, $9,848 per downlink. But you've only got a couple of weeks to figure out if you want to take this or not. So there was kind of a mad scramble at that time. We took a lot of phone calls, people asking questions. What that did is, it made you responsible. If you had to transition to a different satellite, your antenna needed to point to a different satellite and it wouldn't see it because of a tower in the way, a building in the way, trees in the way. It made you responsible for taking care of that. The plan was, if you stay as part of a qualified earth station, I think that's coming up next, the FCC would take care of all those costs for you. So they would include, in fact, we've got a customer in New York. We're putting in a brand new dish for them that the FCC is paying for. So the customer is part of the earth station population as well as key stakeholders in the transition. So this is the timeline and milestones, and all this stuff is passed already. March the 31st, the Clearinghouse Search Committee convened. These were all 2020. May the 29th, the operators filed their accelerated relocation elections, and they all took it. June 5th, the public notice of 80% of the clearing supermajority met. If so, clearing coordinator committee is formed. That was done. June the 12th, the satellite operators filed their transitions plans. So SES, Intelsat, Telesat, they all had to file a transition plan with the FCC. Said, this is how we're going to move people around. This is what we're going to do. July the 13th, the window for stakeholder comments closes. July 31st, the clearinghouse and clearing coordinator search committees announced their choices. August the 14th, the satellite operators submitted revisions to their transmission plans. December the 8th, the auction began. I'm sure you guys all heard about that. Revenue was like $90 billion out of their auction. That's crazy. That's crazy. The 30-day trigger, Earth stations decide whether they want to opt out or go with the other. And there it is, $8,948. That was a little off. $8,948 per downlink. And then where we are right now, we're in this period before December the 5th of 2021, which is the phase 1 deadline. 3,700 to 3,820 has to be cleared in the top 46 PEAs. So in the top 46 markets, population markets, they're doing this transition of the 3,700 to 3,820 frequency band. And then by December 5th of 2023, we have to transition everybody else from 3,700 to 4,000 to be cleared. So that's where, and we'll talk about it in a minute, that's where you get your red filter and blue filter comes in. We'll talk about that in just a second. And then December 5th is the 2025 is the sunset of all license protection for the 3,700 to 4,000 range. There were 7 defined components in the space station operator transition plans. These are the space stations plan. The list of existing space stations that must be repacked. Number of new satellites required to maintain sufficient capacity post-transition. So in the next couple of years, there are going to be 7 more satellites launched to kind of spread this 200 megahertz of spectrum we have now out amongst the different satellites to get all the carriers in that we need. Some of these were filling in slots that didn't exist before. Some of them were satellites that were going to die and they were just going to let move off, but they've had to set up to replace them. There's a specific grooming plan for migrating customer service to the upper 200 megahertz. List of necessary technology upgrades required to complete the repack plan. We're seeing some of the TV services are going to different compression schemes. And so equipment is having to be bought and things are having to change. And so that's part of this plan as well. Number and location of Earth stations receiving signals from operator satellites. Estimate the number of Earth station antennas that will require retuning or repointing, and a specific timeline and milestone plan. So these are all parts of the SES, Intelsat. These are part of their transition plans. The satellite owners were required to deliver their transition plans to the FCC June the 12th of 2020, and then that was changed to June the 19th. They've all delivered their plans. I'll provide this link to Mike when we're over, and you can provide the deck to Mike. You can put it up, and y'all can get these links out of it. But all their plans are online. You can go read SES's, Intelsat's plans. They're all online. You can see what they're planning to do. The satellite owners will determine the capacity plan, the timing plan, and the technology plan. The FCC plan also includes additional satellite launches to increase capacity, and building a comprehensive plan requires engagement from satellite users and their affiliates. So that's us as well. Qualified Earth stations, non-qualified Earth stations. These are the Earth station categories. So the qualified Earth stations are defined as only those in the FCC's International Bureau database. If you registered, your Earth station is there. Unless you elected to opt out, qualified Earth stations receive 2 primary benefits: the cost reimbursement and continued C-band operating protection. So part of this was that there's a bubble placed around your Earth station, qualified Earth station. It's about 1,700 feet where they can't encroach in upon that. The 5G transmitters, I don't know if you guys know, they only travel about 2,000 feet. They've gotten permission to put these on power poles. Here in Charlotte, we've seen them taking down light poles and putting them back up with a transmitter on top of them in preparation for this. It doesn't travel very far. So, the other side of it is it is going to penetrate buildings. These people I think they're overselling this, and I think there's going to be a problem when it all rolls out. And folks, it isn't as great as the cell phone companies say it is. but you should have some protection around your qualifier station against them encroaching in upon it. The cost reimbursement that you get from the FCC is for filtering and for modifications required due to the repack. So the earth stations can provide material the same service after the transition as before. They have to make you whole. So if that requires a new dish, that's a new dish. If that's just a filter, it's just a filter. If they have to move your antenna and put in a new foundation and antenna and everything, that's what it covers. If your provider, whoever you're getting your feed from, is changing compression schemes, then you're going to get new equipment. It's all going to be covered by the FCC as long as you didn't opt out. If you opted out, you're responsible for all that stuff. The qualifier station must facilitate the activities for an accelerated clearing. So you got to help give access so that these things can get done by December the 5th of this year. And that the orders redefine power limits for the areas surrounding the qualified earth station. That's that 1,700 feet area. Non-responsive earth stations may be waived. If you've been contacted by SES or Intelsat or USSI or SEG, and they've been asking about your uplink services, what do you have, what brand, et cetera. I know when I was an engineer, and I know a lot of engineers are very protective of that information. We don't know who's calling. That's not business that, I understand it could be probably public information, but you need to go look for that, not just call me and ask for it. You need to talk to these people because this is what they're doing. And if they deem you as non-responsive, they can waive you out and not take care of you. No earth station is protected for all 500 megahertz. FCC did not accept a gateway concept. They presented a gateway concept where we had some uplinks on either coast that were able to still broadcast in those bands for things overseas. And the FCC rejected all that outright. There's some telemetry and tracking and control protected through the 2025 in that frequency band, and they got to be they're non-protected after 2025 as well. And that last line, look and compare affiliate list versus FCC database inquiries to clients. Those are those phone calls that we were talking about. So we've run into a few things. This is a little bit about the red filter, and I'll show you in just a second. The red filter is for the top 46 markets, and it's mainly been video. Radio folks have all transitioned above 4 gig. So we're just putting a blue filter on for them. But the red filter blocks everything below 3820 and everything above 4200 meg. So it replaces the WiMAX filters. It replaces any of the terrestrial radar filters that you have. It's a band pass filter. And we run into a few things that are interesting. We took this picture because it seems that when we put the filter on in this orientation with the sensor in the LNB there on the left side and the opening on the filter on the right side, that's where we seem to get the least amount of loss. And we've had a little bit of loss in these, anywhere from half a dB to 3 dB loss, insertion loss. When they were saying that we were only going to be a half a dB or so, we've contacted the filters that we're putting on are Alga filters. There are only 2 filter companies that are really approved. The Microwave Filter Company makes a filter, and Alga, ALGA, makes a filter. Those are the 2 that were developed by the C-band Alliance. And those are really the only 2 filters that they're recommending. I know there are a lot of other filters on the market. I've heard stories from, had a guy call me and tell me he was looking online and the filters were $1,100. They're not anywhere near that much. So if you're getting online and looking, be careful what you're looking for. And be careful what you're, careful what you're buying, kind of buyer beware, especially if you opted out and you're doing your own. These filters were developed by the CBA, and they have a pretty sharp drop off right outside. I'll show you a spectrum plot here in just a minute of what they look like once they're installed. This is that first clearing, 3700 to 3820. Everything from 6 transponder 6 down will be cleared. And so this is for those top 46 markets. And again, it's been mainly video that we've seen doing the red filters. We've been putting blue filters on radio because they've all transitioned up above 4 gig. So what this does is this allows them to use that 3820 up to 4 gig for the next couple of years while they transition, get satellites launched, get extra capacity so they can move things on up. And then the blue filter is anybody that gets a red filter by 2023 will have to have another visit with a blue filter. And that blue filter blocks everything up to 4 gig. So it's again also a bandpass filter. It only passes 4 gig to 4200, and everything else it blocks off pretty steep. In fact, here's the spectrum plot. So the plot on the left is before the filter. The plot on the right is after the filter. You can see it drops everything off pretty sharp above and below where it's supposed to. What does the recent TV repack tell us about how the FCC works in similar operations? All invoices for reimbursement must be specific to a site. It's the site registration, the downlink, not the station call letters that are on any invoices. Vendors EIN must be on invoice. Equipment IDs must be accurate. Double check all math. We were told that some of the spreadsheet rounding in the TV repack could cause invoices to be rejected. So USSI is doing all the filter installations and modifications for SES. If you have you have uplinks that are pointing or downlinks that are pointing to SES, they have a email here, cbandhelp@ses.com. If you haven't heard from them and you've got something on SES, you might want to send them an email. If you're registered, you're qualified, and you haven't heard from them, you might want to send them a note, let them know you haven't heard from them, so you don't end up in that thrown out category. Intelsat they've got several folks. USSI is primarily doing the video stuff. Wesco, SEG is doing non-video radio stuff. ATCI is doing the Simulsat stuff, and Harmonic is taking care of equipment shipments and things like that. Intelsat is really focusing on their transition plan up until June the 1st. So their filtering and stuff won't start until after June the 1st of 2021. And they're really only focusing on the top 46 markets at that point. Nationwide filtering will start in earnest in mid-year 2023. And they're really focusing on grooming the services and how they're going to do all that transition to everything. They also have down there at the bottom, C-band info at intelsat.com. If you have something on Intelsat and you haven't heard from them, you probably want to shoot them an email and let them know what's going on, that you haven't heard from them. So that's about everything I've got. I can tell you a couple of stories. We've had some folks had a small cable head end out west call me. They were having some issues already, and we got to talking, and he never registered his uplinks or his downlinks, never registered his downlinks. We talked about it. I heard quite the rant about the FCC and how they've got enough money, they should be able to pay him. And he thought it was extortion at the time. And that's all past now. And I'm afraid it's going to cost him a small fortune, because he's got quite a few antennas, and he's a cable head in a couple of locations, and that fee to register his antennas would have been well worth it at this point. We've also seen some folks had a retirement community in Florida, got new receivers for a TV service they were offering, and wouldn't work with their dish. And we stopped by, and it was an 8-foot mesh dish, and it worked fine before and wouldn't work now. And typical went from DVB-S to DVB-S2, and an 8-foot dish just would not cut it anymore. And I don't know that they had ever even heard about the repack. So they're kind of on the hook for their own stuff. We've seen, we've been doing the filters here and there. I've seen anywhere from half a dB to 3 dB loss. We've talked to Alga about it, and everybody kind of shrugs their shoulders. So we've swapped some out, and we'll find one that does a 3 dB loss. And I don't know, it's a passive filter. I don't know if it's got some machine, chips inside of it or something left over from machining or something like that that's causing some problems. But we've seen a bit of that as well. So,
wow. Hey, tell us again, in December of this year, who will that impact?
It's the top 46 population markets. And I don't know if there's a list on the FCC side. I've got a list somewhere of that I could probably find and send to you if you want to see it. It's the typical, it's almost like the top 46 radio markets.
Yeah.
And that's all that the red filters affect. And that's all that this year affects. If you're out in the country, out in the middle of nowhere, not near a population center, you're probably not going to be affected by this at all. Although throwing a filter on wouldn't hurt anything. I can sell you filters. You can find filters here and there. Just be very careful. The other thing we've heard about, I haven't seen any of, but is, I'm from Texas originally. Anytime we had a storm come through with hail in it, everybody with a pickup truck and a hammer became a roofer. And we called them the roofing cowboys. They would show up and take insurance money and scam people out of stuff. So we've seen it. We've heard a bit about that with this. So if you're hiring somebody, if you opted out and you're hiring somebody to do your filter for you, be sure that it's a reputable company. It's somebody you know, or somebody you've been told about, somebody that you can check on. There's a lot of things that SES has been requiring, and we do this for even the folks that have opted out that have hired us to do this. We go ahead and do this as well. They want a spectrum shot before, spectrum shot after. We have an Applied Instruments XR3 satellite meter that does a proof of performance on the satellite before and after. And they want all this paperwork kind of to prove if you ever have an interference issue in the future. If you opted out, I'm sure the first question the FCC is going to say, what did you do with our money? What did you do with the money we gave you? Well, you can prove that everything was done as was done to specs and everything was right at that point in time before the interference happened. So you'll have documentation there to do that. So we've been doing that for our customers, and I usually throw them on a thumb drive or and mail them back to them, or to email them the pictures, or if they've got an FTP site, we can dump it there. But we try to do that for everybody, even though it's not required for everybody. Intelsat is a little less strict on their stuff. They're more of a, take a couple of screenshots, put the filter on, and get the heck out. SES is a little more involved. They want things to be grounded. They want to make sure the antenna is right before you leave. So we trying to help the folks out by doing what we think everybody is going to need, or in the future. And I mean, how it is to deal with the FCC. Documentation. It's, if you've got all this stuff from when it was done that says everything was clear, everything looked good, and now we've got a problem, I think that's gonna help folks out.
Hey, I don't know if you know this, but I'll give you the example of why I'm asking. So the 1,700-foot demarc, you can't go any closer, around a registered dish. So we've got a dish on a building where it's very lucrative to the cell companies. They want to have whichever technology they can up there. But sorry, we got a dish up there. Have you heard of the removal, having a dish removed from the protection list? Can that be done through the FCC? Because for all we know, we'll be approached. Hey, if you move your dish, we'll give you an amount of money or whatever. We may be interfering with them.
I haven't heard that, but I'm sure that anything is possible. And the cell phone companies, they spent $90 billion to get the frequencies.
Yeah.
Asking a station to relocate a dish is pennies. I haven't heard of it. We had to have a customer call, and they've got downlinks at a transmitter site, and there is cell service on the tower.
Mm-hmm.
And we told them, you might want to talk to your tower owner about this, because this could potentially be a problem for you. The bandpass filter, they seem to work. I don't know where they're going to work if you've got a transmitter within, a couple hundred feet of your LNB. Haven't seen that yet, so I don't know.
Got it. Any other questions?
Yeah.
Hey, what you guys, when you price out your services,
mm-hmm.
you charge a fee, a transportation fee as well. Hey, it's going to cost us.
Here's what since we're everywhere, if you're not in a hurry and you opted out, you're not in a hurry. What we try to do is schedule you when we're somewhere nearby. So instead of, our company is based in Panama City, Florida. I live in Statesville, North Carolina. It's about 40 minutes north of Charlotte. Our main installer lives in Lexington, Kentucky. Our accountant lives in Knoxville, Tennessee. So we're kind of spread out. Our main installer, Robert Morrison, he's all over the place right now. They're in Connecticut right now, headed to Ohio next, and then he's going to head home. I got to send him to Washington to site survey a site next week. So we've got some sites up there that we've got to do. Washington and Oregon, we're going to be in before the end of June, doing some sites in Portland and Ocean Park, Washington, some places up there. If we can schedule you in where we're close and we don't have to travel a lot, then that travel is kind of absorbed into the cost of everything else.
Yeah.
And we can give you a, kind of a flat rate for putting the filter on and doing the proofs.
The only reason I ask is we as a broadcast community may want to try and organize if there are enough people interested in dealing with one company just to save some money.
Yeah, it's helped us out, and we've picked up a few along the way here and there. But it's we're more than happy to look at it and see if if you're not in a hurry, and we can, if you want it now, we can certainly do that, but it's going to cost you more for travel and that kind of thing. If you're not in a hurry and you want us to come give it a shot, and we can schedule you in when we're somewhere else, or we're driving through, that would help out a whole lot.
And just to let everyone know, I haven't heard a status one way or the other, but I know for just about a fact, no one has received any reimbursement who opted out of.
Yeah, I had that question the last time we talked about this, and I asked Mark about it, and which he laughed hysterically. Nobody's there. Everybody's thinking third quarter for opt-out reimbursements or later. Although we have been seeing, I got an email from a gentleman, and we checked around a little bit. There have been some emails coming out about the reimbursements, and they look like spam because the spelling is weird. There's no spacing between the words. I wish I had an example here to show you, but apparently it's a legit email from the clearinghouse about payments for opting out. I haven't heard of anybody getting any yet. I've seen a couple of the emails. So things seem to be starting to move. And the filter, again, it's not going to break the bank for a filter. If you want to buy a filter and put it on, we sell them all day long for $350. So I can, plus shipping, I can ship one to you. So they're not expensive. If you want to put one on, if you want us to come and put one on, it's a little more. But again, it's not like you're going to have to break the bank to buy a filter to get it on. And, if you're waiting for the reimbursement, it depends on now, if you're going to have to move your satellite to a different, move your dish to a different satellite, that may be a little more, especially if there's something in the way. We've run into a lot of places that have to have trees trimmed, and we'll just let them know, we need these trees trimmed over here, and they'll take care of it. So, but we do have a few that are having to move, just flat move. So.
Gotcha. So your advice is, how do you even, and you guys sell these? We had this discussion over the phone. I had no idea. We could buy filters and LMBs from you guys, just like we do to other people, which I never knew.
Right. And yeah. We sell anything satellite related, from the amplifiers, the bucks, modulators, any of the equipment, LNBs, the filters, the antennas. I sell pretty much every kind of dish. We mainly deal with Prodlins. That seems to be the best ones that we sell all the time. But as well as installation services, consulting services, and we sell space segment. If you want to uplink, we sell space segment as well. So.
Got it. Because sitting there thinking, for us, yeah, we could install it, but I like the point you bring up that you can do it before and after. We'll have documentation. It's from an authority. That's not a bad route to go.
Right. Yeah, I think if anything ever happens, you're gonna wish you had that documentation.
Yeah.
So.
Got it.
I've got a question.
Yes, sir.
What kind of proofs do you do after you install a filter?
The meter has an automated proof system in it, and it runs through. Let's see if I can find a picture of one real quick here, and I'll show you what it looks like. It checks several transponders, and it just checks receive level on several different transponders. It's all automated, and all of these were recommended by here's one. Let me see if I can get this one to pop up. Oh, it's going to be sideways. Turn over this way. All right. Can you see that on the screen? So it checks different transponders and the levels, but it does it all automated. And it was one of the things that SES recommended. They actually recommended this meter, the XR3. and they specifically ask for pre and post proofs, which it does automated when you do a filter for them. They also have some limits. They have some different things that we've downloaded into the meter. You'll have to excuse the dusty screen on the meter. I noticed that after I got home and looked at the pictures. But all it does is it looks at several different transponders and looks at the carrier noise level.
Got it.
It's all an automated process in the meter. So I hit a couple of buttons and it goes off and does its thing and pops back. We save it and then I send it to them.
So you're looking at how effective that bandpass filter is working.
Yeah, they're looking at the bandpass filter on different transponders. So you can see transponder 2 is obviously there's hardly anything there. 10, from the dBm standpoint, and then there's the carrier to noise. I don't, you know, this was a pre-proof. Let me see if I can find one that's a post. This would be a screenshot of the, let's see if I can show you this too. This would be a screenshot of the actual meter. So this is on ANIC F3 and it gives me a carrier to noise ratio. So this helps me to find the bird. We can ID the satellite. It'll ID the satellite, tell me this is for sure ANIC F3. If not, it'll search and find out which satellite it is and tell me which satellite it is. So it's a nice little meter.
Mm-hmm.
See if this is a, this was.
Hey, do you guys by chance sell that, or is that so pricey? It's
We don't sell them, but I'll tell you, you can. The Applied Instruments is in Austin, Texas, and that's who makes it. They're $1,000. They have a module that goes in the back to do satellite. If you're quick, there are a couple actually on Facebook Market I've seen for significantly less than that. If you want to take a risk and buying a used piece of gear. This is a EMF. For EMF, we've been doing repoints for them, and this is a post repoint, and it just looks at their transponder and runs numbers on it. I may have, though, the meter saves a printout. Let's see if I've got one of those handy. See if I've got it here. I know I've got one. I just don't know where they are.
So this is something you'd probably want to do before you do the filter change and then after, you know,
You would do it before and then after as well. I thought I had one. I don't have one. Here we go. I don't know if this will be big enough for anybody to see or not. I'll try to make it bigger. This is the printout that the meter does with the proof of performance. This was an NPR station, and this was the pre-proof of performance. So it runs through several transponders, looks at their levels, frequencies, carrier to noise ratio, EBNOs.
So with the bandpass filter, exactly what are you eliminating? Looking at these charts right here.
Look, we're eliminating everything above 4.2 gig and everything below 4 gig. So the best shot of that was the picture in the PowerPoint. Let me run that back up here. So you can see here, you know, when we're looking at L bands, so that everything is flipped. This is below and this is above 4.2, 4 and 4.2. So you can see there's stuff here, obviously. Once we put the filter on, everything is eliminated. This would replace any WiMAX stuff that you've got. If you have WiMAX interference, it would replace any of the terrestrial radar stuff that you've got. We've been pulling filters off and putting this filter on. It takes care of everything. Since it only passes that 200 meg from 4 to 4.2, nothing else. It's filtered out everything else. I had some this last week that had terrible WiMAX below, and you could see it on the spectrum analyzer when we got there. Put the filter on and it's completely gone.
Any other questions?
Hey, I finally made it here, Mike.
Yeah, I was gonna say we should chat. There's still another meeting. You should stick around and we catch up. All right.
Yeah, I had you had the wrong code on the sheet.
I'm not sure how everyone else is here.
But the passcode was SBE, not those numbers.
Yeah, I don't recall giving numbers. All right. Well, if there are no other questions, we want to thank you very much. This was a great presentation. Do you want, let me release the screen. If you give me some information, I'll share it with the chapter and you can include your contact information too.
Sure, sure. I don't know how to get rid of the, oh, you know what? It's over here. Stop sharing. There we go. I will, I'll throw this deck in an email and send it to you.
Great. And
then you can post it up or you can do whatever you want to do with it.
Yeah.
My contact information is in there. It's real simple. Doug@linkupcommunications.com.
Mm-hmm.
Feel free to email me. My phone number is on there as well. Call if you want. We'll do anything we can to help you guys out.
Great. Well, thank you again. This has been very helpful.
You're quite welcome.
Thanks for sharing, Doug.
Quite welcome.
Thank you, Doug.
All right. Well, we're going to move on to the SBE Tidewater chapter meeting. Now, the news I didn't get to tell you at the beginning of the meeting is that Mike Baxter can't make it. He got called off to North Carolina for a problem in North Carolina just before the meeting. So he asked me to pass that word along. Is there anyone in the chapter in Tidewater that can conduct business?
I can talk to everybody if they want.
Unfortunately,
Sure.
I have to leave the meeting because I have to attend another meeting at 1:30. So
Okay. Well, glad you could join us.
good to see everybody. Take care. Bye-bye.
Mike, has chapter 60 done its business for the day?
Yes, we did. Yep, we were looking for you for any comments about SBE certification.
I've got one person up for certification that we need to vote on.
Is it a recertification? Would it be Michael from WRIC?
Yes, it is.
I guess we need to wait until the next meeting because we lost most of our members, but that won't be a problem. And if you're not around at the next meeting, we can.
I should be around. I had this happen to me before. There's two passcodes on that sheet. And I was putting the wrong one in.
Okay.
When
The numerical one might be for if you make a phone call.
Yeah, I think it is, but the way it's down there with the meeting ID.
Got it.
So I was fighting the thing to try to get it to do that. But
Well,
he's got the points, and basically we just need to the chapter president and a couple others need to vote on him.
Okay.
And then this is a renewal.
Yep. Well, thanks for that. One way or the other, we'll do that next month.
Okay.
All right. Over to you, Billy.
Anyway, well, doesn't look like anybody out there is part of the report program. So I say nobody's here to give a EAS report or a certification report or anything like that for the chapter.
If you guys were around in the beginning at 12:15, 12:20 or so, the same chapter chair newsletter I shared was what Mike would have shared as well.
Okay,
So that could apply.
all right. I wasn't here for the last meeting, so I don't have any meeting minutes from the last meeting.
Yeah. All right. Well, I guess we can end it here if you guys want to.
All right. Anybody got anything to say? Charles, Victor?
No, I don't have anything to add, but I really like the presentation.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I enjoyed the presentation, and it's good to see everybody.
Yep.
Yeah,
Good to see you, Victor.
Yeah, you too, Mike. It's been a while.
Yep.
get shots.
The last one was the fiber one. That was good too. But I enjoyed this session. It was very informative, so I really
Yeah.
appreciate it. Thank you, Doug, for that.
Quite welcome.
Okay.
All right.
Move, we adjourn.
What's that, Sam?
I said I made a motion that we adjourn.
Well, we've already adjourned the chapter 60 meeting. Yeah,
Oh,
you're part of you're a part of the Tidewater chapter as well. You're in the meeting.
Yeah.
I can second it officially. I'm not in charge here. All right. You guys have a good afternoon. Take care and
Okay.
stay fueled.
Stay
Keep-
fueled.
Keep in touch, Mike, and we'll get this. I like to clear this application out as soon as possible. So,
Yeah, we'll definitely do that next month.
okay.
All
I'll
right.
notify National that it'll be next month before I get it back to them.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay,
Bye.
bye-bye.